So, to start, a little bit of housekeeping. Smoke alarm. It's not my house. I can't do anything about it. Speaking of the devil. My name is Seven, and I have been seeing some conversation about art, and specifically with people who are creative and who do engage in art. There is a lot of fixation on how to be a good artist. And when I've thought about it, and I'm the type of person who is also very obsessive of being good, being great specifically. And what I've come to understand is that the test that many of us put ourselves in for the creation of art that we make is not the same as the art that we enjoy. And for me, I have noticed that I have enjoyed many types of art and not all at the same scale of like greatness. Like some of it is actually garbage. Some of it is actually garbage, and I enjoy it because there is something in it that I am connecting with. And I feel like as creative people, as artists, we need to accept that, hey, maybe you're already good and you're obsessing about being great when being good is enough. With that being said, I do think that the understanding of where a good artist lies is confused with technical skill. You can be technically great and have nothing to say. And for me, that's a waste of time. If you want to be technically great, this video is not for you on how to be a good artist. You're just going to have to chase that skill level that you're looking for, which to me, I do not think you will ever find because you are not connected to it. And art, in its essence, to me, is a connection between your inner self and outer self, as well as yourself to others. And if you can't connect to that, nothing that you create artistically is going to be worth your own time, and you'll never see value in it. And I think that will also reflect on how other people will view your art. So with this new starting over, if this is not about technical skill, and I will not be giving examples of garbage art that I enjoy, because this is not a critiquing type of situation, but to give an actual category of, like, not even category, a list of things that you need to do in order to be a good artist. Let's start off with being a good artist means trying things you don't like. And I know that that sounds disgusting to most of us, but it's trying out things we don't like and being garbage at them. And hey, it just is what it is. You got to try it out in order to know, like, yourself better. If you are only doing the things you are comfortable with, you will never truly understand the greatness of your potential, I guess is how I put it. You will never understand how far you can actually go if you're a painter and all you do is paint. Hey, that's great. But if you don't try out other things, you're gonna have the same perspective of how you're coming to painting every single time you sit at the canvas. If you are someone who wants to be like a director, if you're coming at everything with the same perspective, again, same thing, you don't engage in any other types of art because you see them as a waste of time. A whole different thing to like deal with. But if you don't want to engage with these things, you're not really gonna have a lot of range with your creation because you aren't allowing yourself the full experience of this art form that you enjoy so deeply. And many of the people that you admire aren't only watching movies. They're going to museums, they're interacting with other types of experiences, whether it's like life experience or like people who value other things than just the movie or the movies. Now, with art, you do need to know why you're doing it. And I don't mean like the why you're an artist in the first place. I would hope that you know that, and that, you know, it's kind of a thing where it's like you just understand it. It's in you that you need to do this. But you need to know what you're making the piece for, whatever the piece may be. The movie, the comic, the song, whatever it may be. You need to know why you're making it. What is the thing you're trying to get people to leave with it? Now, it doesn't have to be something super duper deep, like, you know, oh, I want people to understand the magnitude of this type of like harmful behavior or whatever. It can be as simple as like, I want people to leave with this with enjoyment. Okay. Using that, what exactly do you enjoy? Which goes to niche. Niche is not just about the specific type of art that you're interested in or your inspirations. It's also pulling from your own experience. Not every artist, most artists, a good portion of artists that are in museums or are recognized today, were not using other artists as a reference point. They were using their own life as a reference point. And if you get into the habit of acknowledging yourself in your own art, then you're going to have a better chance at connecting with other people, because you are being willing to truly understand yourself in order to make it have as much depth and range as possible, because you're putting the foot forward to do the digging to make this worth something engaging with. The next thing that needs to be done is to convey that reason. And this is where it can go from good to kind of not great to amazing. And it's the way you orchestrate that. The only way that you can fail at making good art is making your intent completely unclear. If you are writing a poem and your poem is supposed to be about grief of a loved one, and you really spend a lot of time on like conveying that, if someone else reads it and gets the understanding of it being an erotic story, that means you have failed. All that means, though, is that you need to be a little bit better at using imagery or words or timing or pacing. Those are things you need to refine. But at the end of the day, if you really just tighten up on, okay, how can this be understood? Where am I culturally? What are these type of words typically used for? And what I will say is that just because someone interprets, or people in general, interpret your, can I speak? Interpret your piece as something else doesn't necessarily mean that you failed. The saying that art is subjective or art can mean multiple things, can be interpreted in any way, I'm not the biggest fan of that because of the way that it typically is understood. Art inherently is not subjective. There is a thing that is being said. There is a message that is being conveyed. However, the subjectivity comes from the way that you interact with the piece. People can interact with your piece and see whatever perspective they want to see from it, sure. But if your messaging is not clear from the first interaction of it, you have not done a good job conveying what you're trying to say. There will be people who will be obtuse. That has nothing to do with you. But if most people are understanding your piece the way that you intended, that means you executed the conveying part good. And that's good enough. You don't have to be like, people figured it out too soon. The more that you focus on the reason and the conveying of that reason, is going to get great eventually. And I see a lot of artists so worried about being like the people they admire when they don't have the time under their belt at the same time as the people that they're inspired by. They've spent a lot of time refining this, here's my thing, here's my refining process, this conveying of what I'm trying to say. And also going along with the making sure that your intent is clear, is you do have to be understanding of where you are. Just because your piece can be interpreted in another area does not mean that you failed. Every region has a different understanding of different symbols and different colors and textures and things like that. And you can use that to your advantage. But you do need to keep in mind that things do have history behind them, and things do have a original meaning. You can bend it however you want, but at the end of the day, there is going to be specific things that people key in on. And with that, you have to keep, like, while you're creating, or at least at some point in your creative process, keep in mind that these things will be in the back of people's heads. And I feel like the people who are seen as great now, it's because they are aware of that. An example, the color red can be used for both violence and passion. You can use that either way, or the textures, they can be sharp, they could mean like actual danger, or they can mean precision. It's like you have to take these things that we have come to understand, and this is specifically in like a Americanized way or a Western way. These type of symbols are interpreted this way. It can be interpreted entirely different somewhere else, but you need to keep in mind where you are. This does not mean that you need to feed into everybody's interpretation of symbols or the way that certain things resonate, because at the end of the day, your niche is about you specifically, your specific experience. You have to keep in mind what your audience is. Who are you trying to reach with what you are saying? In order to make your art good, and it needs to be understandable. But who you're trying to understand to, or trying to explain your thought to through your art, is completely dependent on what your niche is. Another part of being a good artist is searching for inspiration. I don't think there's anything wrong with being inspired by other artists. And that goes back to what I was talking about, is that as an artist, to be a good artist, you need to try do different things. If you are making the same song a million trillion times again, you are failing at being a good artist because you're scared to explore. You find a comfort zone and that's it. I personally am not of the opinion that art is meant to be confined. And as an artist, I believe that it's your part of your responsibility to get as many parts of art as possible in order to convey what you are trying to say in the most original way. Through searching through inspiration, you are not only going to see the way that other people do things, but you're going to find different things that speak to you that you're like, oh, I never thought to do it that way. And because I've seen it, now I know how to modify this in my own, for my own thing. This does not mean to steal. If you are really inspired by one movie, and sometimes you'll see this in like a director's first movie, they'll mention a movie that they really enjoyed, and then you watch the movie, or you'll hear it both like after you've watched the movie, and you're like, this movie reminds me of this movie a lot. And they're like, you see an interview and they're like, I really like this movie. You know, I feel like we should be a little bit better about that. It's like there's no problem with being inspired, but if people can say that this movie or this game is almost exactly the same as another, with other than like some character changes or color modification, it's practically just a sonic recolor, and I think we need to start over. We need to think about how we use references. And you'll see that also with people who, like certain art trends where they'll take like the fallen angel thing, they'll take that, and then it's just a whole bunch of people putting like a different character on top. And because it's fine, like it's not serious, it's like, okay, you know, but you know, if somebody put inspired by on top of it, you could see why someone would be like, is it inspired? I don't know. I don't know. But yes, creating good art is about being able to connect. You have to be able to convey your message as clearly as possible. And some of y'all are already doing that, and you're just being hard on yourself. you're trying to push yourself to somewhere that you're not there yet for, that will only come with time. Again, when I've mentioned that there are things that are not technically great that I enjoy, there was like, I don't know if I can find it. I will try to find it when I'm editing this. But there was like a drawing that a kid did called Safe. And it was just so impactful for me. I was just like, this kid, it's not like no hyper realistic nothing. Like, it's simple as fuck. But it's like very clear what's being said, to the point where it's like, oh my God, what the hell? And I would say that using like children's drawings, the only reason that I think that we think that a lot of children's drawings are garbage, if you want to be all nice and be like, no, I think it's good, okay, you can go over there. But I think the only reason we think it's garbage is because we don't know what the hell the kid is saying. Only the kids understand what the kids are saying, which goes back to the niche and to your audience. Hey, if your audience understands what it means, who gives a fuck what everyone else thinks? The people you were trying to reach were reached. But yeah, like the typical thing that a lot of us did when we were younger with the sun, with the sunglasses, we're trying to say the sun is cool, and also the sun is hot, and the sun is so bright that it needs shades. We understand when we're looking at the photo that it means it's a house outside and there's flowers and it's nice. Hey, it's simple, but it's understandable. And I think that's good enough. Hey, it's good enough. And the only way that goes from good to great is when we start refining shit and we get hyper realistic and we learn all of these things. But the basis is enough. Hey, the basis is enough. If it's clear, it doesn't have to be super duper like advanced or full of skill, because we understand what it means. And I think more of us should be okay with that and satisfied that, hey, this means what I want it to mean. Now here's the catch though. There's like, if you're familiar, you should be familiar if you're seeing this, there is the clip from Family Guy talking about The Godfather, and it insists upon itself. Hey, me personally, I don't like when something insists upon itself. I think this is advice that I would give personally. To make good art, do not hammer the point home. Hey, I know I said make it clear, but don't make it so clear that it's annoying. Like, hey, that might be a little difficult. We can just focus on the other parts that I said. But I think that if we were to like, if we feel like we're doing a little too much, maybe let's pull back. An example that I could give is like PSA. I don't like PSA music personally. The things that are just like, oh my God, call your mom, mental health is important, don't kill yourself. These are good things. I'm not saying they're bad things. I'm just saying sometimes it insists upon itself, where I'm like, I feel like we could have got this point across without, it being so on the nose. And I would say that the same for like after school specials. If we feel like we're doing too much, just reel it back. But that would be my one, like, but, like, don't insist. You can get your point across without it be hammering someone over the head. And I've seen some movies like that and some TV shows like that, and dual wielding. I don't know what it's actually called, but the process of like with films and movies where they are also making sure that you can understand it if you're on your phone. Hey, don't do that with whatever art you're doing. If they're not paying attention, then it wasn't for them. It's like they didn't value it in the first place to spend their time. Then don't insist. Your point can be across without you being like, hey, and you know about this thing that I said or this thing that I did, and whatever. You can do it without that being necessary. But yeah, that will be all.